What's going on, everybody? Patriots postgame show. We've got Mike Kadlick and Taylor Kyles. Where are those guys?
There we are.
John Zannis alongside Greg Bedard.
Diggs, he looked electric tonight.
It feels like they're back to a team that can really compete.
But yeah, Drake Maye, this felt like a game where he knew that he could shred this defense, and he played like it.
There we go, Taylor.
Oh.
Welcome back, everybody. Holy wow. There's so much to say about this, but I'm going to let Taylor say most of it. Just introduce the Patriots postgame show here on the CLNS Media Network. John Zannis alongside Taylor. Kyles, Mike Kadlick's going to join in just a little bit. The show, as always, is brought to you by Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Download the Prize Picks app, code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups when you use play your first $5 lineup. That's all. Just Guy, let's get into it. That's a pretty friggin' gratifying big boy victory right there. We jumped on at half, right? Things got really icky to start the second half there, Taylor. Patriots look dead. They got behind 2 scores there. And look, what are you going to say? Last week it was, all right, Drake Maye, go win the game. And he couldn't, and he didn't. And this week it was, okay, Drake Maye, go win the game. And he did. And he didn't do it alone. He got some help from John Harbaugh, from Stefon Diggs, from Christian Gonzalez, from Chason, from a lot of different people who contributed late. That was a very gratifying big boy victory, and the Patriots have now clinched a playoff berth. They're back in the postseason, and Taylor Kyles can smile again. So can Mike Kadlick, because Taylor Kyles didn't sign on for 4 and 13 seasons. He signed on to cover champions, okay? And the Patriots are one step closer to winning the AFC East, but they're in the playoffs. Let's just kind of go over what happened there in the last 10 minutes of that game, Taylor. We walked through it a little bit, but great stuff all around there, starting with, the big boy drive by Drake Maye to get them back within 1 score.
These are kind of tough games to cover because so much just happened. I'm still trying to process everything, but the biggest takeaway is the Patriots did almost everything we said they couldn't do in this game, and then some, and they still came out on top. Drake Maye having the quarter that we said he needed to have, where he's making the mistakes, but Mike, the avatar state where he kind of locks in. Yep. We hadn't really seen that from him in a couple of weeks, where there's just multiple series where he's clearly locked in and just not making mistakes, putting passes on the money, and that's exactly what we saw. I think the worst pass maybe was the one to Kyle Williams, but that was honestly a great play by the Ravens.
Great play by Wiggins. He read that like a book. Yeah.
Knew the blitz was coming, knew he could dive on that one. That was a great play, but Drake was fantastic. And then the defense, I don't want to give them too much credit because Derrick Henry apparently ceased to exist for that one drive, but to force that fumble from Caleb on Chason, Mike Vrabel is going to show that play to every team he coaches for the rest of his life, because that's how you coach it, right? You're in front of the play, it's thrown behind you. As soon as he sees it, he retraces, sees that ball loose, and punches it out. Also, where I've talked about it in the past, Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers and the Ravens just being a team that you can only take so seriously because their young guys make these kinds of mistakes that cost them games. That's exactly what happened. But you were the team that knew these opportunities were going to be there and took advantage. So phenomenal stuff from Drake Maye and the entire offense. This wasn't just him, obviously. And then for the defense being opportunistic and taking advantage of some poor decisions, I think, from the Ravens. But hey, more games are lost in the NFL than are won. The Patriots in the third quarter tried real hard to lose this game, but to put it together in the fourth quarter showed me the resilience that I was kind of worried about last week. Like, are they the team that we thought?
Yep.
Now they're facing a real playoff team. Can they bounce back from this? They bounced back despite shooting themselves in the foot. And it wasn't pretty. And usually I feel like but about these games. Right now, I'm impressed because I wasn't sure they were going to be able to pull this one out, especially in the fashion they did.
And the way they
Mike, I'm curious. I just want to piggyback. Taylor said, I was eulogizing these guys on my text threads in the third quarter. Like, hey, we didn't expect them to be this good. We had a good run. It is what it is, but that's it. They're not good enough to withstand all of these injuries, and probably were playing above their heads. But hey, progress, good season, pat on the ass, done. And then this happened, and it kind of changes your thinking a little bit again.
It really does. Like you said, it's a lot to process where they were, what was literally like a half hour, 25 minutes ago in real time. Like, again, and I was like overly pissed off at that fake punt that they tried to do. The play after Drake Maye limps off the field, like that was a what the hell are you doing moment for me. But since then, though, they grinded it out. And the way they won this game was how they won those 10 games in a row in the middle of this season, where everybody's on the same page, everybody fights, it doesn't matter. And you saw it on that play where Carlton Davis tackles, I think it was DeAndre Hopkins, I might be mistaken, but everybody is rallying the ball at once to try and make a play. And he ends up getting there, but you saw 5 or 6 guys ready to swarm in right after that. And look, I know we'll talk about Drake Maye probably ad nauseum for the rest of this show, but they were down. Their backs were against the wall. They let up 2 touchdowns. They could have rolled over and died like they did last week. And behind Drake Maye and this offense, they were able to rally 2 quick touchdown drives back to back and keep themselves in this game and go win this game. So it was awesome to see that. And the fact that, again, you mentioned the injuries, John, and what you were talking about. Like, there was a laundry list of players who were either questionable or out by the game time this game ended. Whether it was Travion Henderson, Kyrus Tonga, Demario Douglas goes down with a hamstring injury. Like, they had all the reasons to lose this game, and they gave themselves a lot of ways to lose this game down the stretch, but they still were able to pull it out and find a way to win. And as far as, we'll obviously analyze it more this week on Pat's Daily and what have you, and kind of break it down and figure out what they still have to get done. But for now, it's cliche, but you eked it out. You won it. You're heading to the postseason in Mike Vrabel's first season. You're 12-3. It's really hard to nitpick this one right now, just because of the, I guess how not severe is not the right word, but how impactful this win is for not just the Patriots this year, but their franchise moving forward. Am I
to begin
out?
in terms
Is
of
John
breaking
out?
it all down? But
Taylor, you losing John a little bit?
Yeah, I am a little bit.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm just making sure it's not me. Okay.
am I
John,
out?
you're coming in and out a little bit.
I'll pop out.
Okay. But I mean, again, like, and we won't do the fake punt right now, but that made me so irrationally mad when it's just like he's limbing off the field. Even if you get it, even if for some reason Marte Mapu completes a pass in this game, I'm looking at the box score right now, and it's hilarious seeing Marte Mapu 0 for 0 with a sack. But
oh my God,
I don't understand what the plan was, especially with Drake coming off the field like that. But let's not do that right now. Did you talk about Kyle Williams and the Marlon Humphrey matchup before I came on just yet?
Not yet, but if we haven't, I would love for us to be able to pull up the receipt, because I called some things in this game. I called the Kyle Williams touchdown against Marlon Humphrey. Also acknowledged that Stefon Diggs could beat him, every once in a while with quickness in some of their matchups. We saw that. And Ramondre Stevenson's rushing stats were way better going to the right side than they were going to the left. So there were quite a few game keys that we actually kind of nailed. But having Kyle Williams be a guy that you can rely on in those kinds of situations to be able to win vertically, because that was a play where it was zone everywhere else. I'm pretty sure he was the only one in man coverage and had a safety to that side, but it looked like Drake Maye did a good job holding the safety. And obviously, dude, teardrop into the bucket to complete that one. Looked a lot like that touchdown he threw to Kyle Williams against the Giants. And also very funny, Drake Maye's first career touchdown and his first 300-yard game both came on the same type of throw, that deep ball down the right sideline.
Oh, yeah.
His touchdown was the Kayshon Boutte in those throwbacks.
Against the Texans, right?
Exactly. So I thought that was kind of fun. But, I mean, we talked about it. You need certain guys to step up. Matt Collins, even though the inconsistencies kind of persisted, you saw him coming up big. And Stefon Diggs, bro, I guess he's just saving his real big games for Sunday Night Football because –
oh, yeah.
I mean, he played out of his mind. A lot of credit goes to Drake Maye for keeping his eyes downfield, climbing pockets. Like, those were the kinds of things that I felt, not that we're missing, but I wanted to see more of those, right? I didn't want to see, oh, you completed it, but it was kind of behind your guy, or it was high, or I could kind of nitpick it if I want to. he was making some money throws, taking advantage of clean pockets in a way that you really do want to see him do on a consistent basis, and especially against the Ravens pass rush that wasn't very good. So, I mean, Stefon Diggs being nails, the concentration on that 4th down catch, because it was this close to
he
being
almost jumped
completion.
Yeah.
He almost jumped it. So, I mean, I'm just impressed with this entire offense. Really, this was a comeback that took everybody, truly. And yes, we can nitpick, and I'm sure that we'll kind of harp on more of those when John gets back, because there were turnover-worthy plays. There was the punt decision. The fact they didn't go for the touchdown on 4th and 2, given how aggressive they are. If it wasn't such an aggressive team, I might have given them a pass, but if this game goes differently, if Derrick Henry maybe is on for that drive where they go 3 and out the Ravens, and he's able to just keep the drive going and kill clock and all that, maybe we're talking about something different. But, I mean, they really could do no wrong in that 4th quarter. But more than that, I thought they really did capitalize and make the plays on their own, which they didn't do last week. And
it's also wild, too, that, like, they and we have your Kyle Williams clip loaded up, so we'll play that in just a second to kind of toot your own horn here. But their ability to – okay, there it is. Like, they made a lot of mistakes in this game, and we'll nitpick it, but, like, the fact that they were still able to get through and be in it and stay in it and win the football game, where you had the near miss to Ramondre in the end zone on that basically the wheel route type down the sideline. I don't know if it was a wheel. He may have been able to haul that in, but it was just a little bit too far, and Drake could have threw a better ball. That could have been a touchdown. Hunter Henry drops the ball in the end zone. That could have been a touchdown. Mm-hmm. 2 turnovers from Drake Maye. Obviously, the Patriots, awesome, being opportunistic to force 2 turnovers on their own right. So there's a lot to look through and kind of parse through, but as it stands right now, again, the way they just dominated the 4th quarter, and they almost flipped a switch. It's like there were so many mistakes, and they're sitting there, and again, I really thought it was over after that fake punt. It just didn't feel like their night, and then they turned it on, they made it happen, and crossed the finish line, and huge kudos to them to get back to the postseason here.
And again, let me know if I'm glitching out again. But I was really, that touchdown drive to put the Ravens up 2 scores. Just look at the way Henry walked into the end zone on that, on his 2nd touchdown. The whole defense looked like it was like, I don't want to tackle anymore. Yeah. I don't want to be here anymore. That was the vibe that you got. They looked beaten there. And again, this is going to kind of fall into the realm of narratives or superlatives and this and that. But I really do think this is one of those games where it holds true. This was a Drake Maye had to put his cape on and say, I'm going to go into Superman mode and do this on my own, because, you guys were watching the same thing. If it wasn't one tackle, it was the other on every single play. Somebody just literally whiffed an initial block. There are so many times where Maye would have had a clean pocket, except one of the 5 linemen, and usually one of the 2 tackles, just didn't block his guy, and they just went in unchecked. It happened to Vidarian Lowe like 5 times, it felt like. It's like, oh, shit, I forgot to block this time. And it was just so disruptive. So Maye had to climb the pocket and step out of pressure on literally almost every single drop back, and he just did. He just kept doing it and doing it. How many times did he step up into the pocket and throw off one foot, finding a receiver after having to kind of manipulate, move around and this and that? The accuracy of some of these throws was just insane. And I know you guys, I'm sure you talked about it, but the very prescient, Taylor Kyles called for exactly what we saw, which got the Patriots back in the game. And that might be a little bit of Kyle Williams magic.
Another guy I think could be a sneaky key to this game is Kyle Williams, because there are certain matchups where you can get Kyle Williams matched up against Marlon Humphrey on the outside or the inside, depending on the formation. We've seen him cook veteran defensive backs off the line of scrimmage with his release package. If he can do that against Marlon Humphrey, I think that's like home run potential opportunity. So I think Demario Douglas is at the top of that list. Stefon Diggs, I just don't think has the explosiveness, the shiftiness.
But we're going to cut it there.
Yeah, you showed that tonight, Taylor.
To beat him every once in a while. I did say that, and we got one. So it's okay. It's okay.
Cut it, guys. Cut it early.
I have another fun Drake Maye stat, though, real quick.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Drake had a career high 9 completions of 20 or more yards. That was almost double his next closest, which was 5. He's had a handful of 5 explosive completions. Yeah. 9 tonight. That's insane. And I feel like because it was so up and down, I might not have believed you if you told me, but I guess, yeah, it does make sense. He had a lot of big throws in this game.
It was superhero mode. And again, let's just talk about that Kyle Williams play, because you talked about, as the type of guy you might be able to take advantage of. And it's when Trevion Henderson goes down, you're left with exactly one explosive playmaker on your offense. And it wasn't like Kyle Williams just dusted the corner with his speed necessarily there. He was stride for stride. That ball is just, who puts a ball there?
Handoff.
Ridiculous, dude.
Who puts a ball there? And he does. And then Williams does a terrific job tracking it because he's got a guy on him.
Yep.
And that's that's
and
not
Humphrey's
an easy
hand is right in there. The ball goes
that's
right
not
over
an
his
easy
hand
catch
and
to
right
make. Because in each of the two you mentioned before, Mike, each of those two other balls, to me, Stevenson hitched a little, and that was one reason why. I think if he runs through that ball, that's exactly where it needs to be.
Sure.
And then the one to Henry, yeah, maybe you can nitpick. He puts it out a tad in front of him. He doesn't have to worry about the defender who didn't touch it, but he's at least messing with his line of sight a little bit, and he's close enough where you got to worry about him. But the defender didn't make a play. The ball goes right through Henry's hands. So you had a couple of touchdowns there that could have been and maybe should have been based on the level of throw that was made. And then you have it again with Kyle Williams. That's not an easy catch to make either. The throw is perfect, but that was just an all-around phenomenal play.
And the deep ball to Kayshon Boutte, too. We haven't even talked about that. What about that?
We tackled him. That man was tackled. That was crazy.
Can I tell you what happened on that play?
Sure.
He caught, first of all, obviously it was an obvious pass interference. Boutte caught that ball and then did he come back in the game after that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I honestly wouldn't be shocked if he was going to. I think he got knocked out for a second and lost it when his head hit the ground. I really do. And that's why that ball came through. And because it just fell out. And then he, because I think his head bounced off the turf. So I think he just, for a split second there.
Right. It's like
I thought Marlon Humphrey might pick that off, to be honest. I was getting like Super Bowl 49 flashbacks there. I was like, oh my God, please. He swatted it away for whatever reason. But it's crazy that wasn't called pass interference when he is, like last week, there was
egregious.
I was like, I understand the call. Not throwing the flag on that one was very, very. I still think the pop phantom OPI on Diggs in that Saints game that overturned that touchdown is the worst missed call I've seen this season. But this was
this one was worse. I think they just got, I don't know what happened. They got so hung up on whether or not it was a catch or not a catch, they forgot to throw the flag on the tackle there. But that was, thank God we're not talking about that. Thank God we're not talking about the fake punt, which was really stupid. Because
very stupid.
Because you're playing a backup quarterback.
My power just went out.
Oh my God, are you okay?
Please hold.
You're playing a backup quarterback, Taylor. I didn't understand that risk. You kick a field goal, 4th and 2, wherever they were from earlier in the game. That seems like the type of spot where you can gamble a little bit. 4th and 10 at the 50-yard line. 4th and 10. That was silly. I'm so glad we don't have to talk about that, because the game might have hinged entirely. You have, I don't know what was dumber, that decision by Vrabel or the decision by Harbaugh to take Henry off the field on that last Ravens drive that gave the Patriots the ball back, because that did factor into the win.
And I think the broadcast said that they thought about faking it earlier. So I'm
clearly
guessing, was there a look, because sometimes what happens is usually when you get these,
they had something they saw.
Right. Yeah. Like when it's really dumb, you're like, why would you do that? And most of the time there's a look they're trying to get. And if they get it, it's automatic. Everybody's on the same page. We're going to run the fake, because what happens is if you check to a fake because they present a certain look, that's kind of a dead giveaway. And then people can, but if they seem to abort it earlier, I don't know what the difference was. I hope somebody asks Mike in the press conference, because I know it's all great, but that's something that whether today or tomorrow, he's got to answer for, because that could have been disastrous. And like you said, they got very lucky that the Ravens made some decisions that kind of were in the Patriots' favor.
My circuit breaker tripped, so my office lights completely went out, but now I'm fine. I'm back.
Welcome.
Okay. It happens. Welcome back.
It was weird because my whole thing went black, but my Wi-Fi was still on. I was like, oh, so my whole power's not up, but here we go.
Yeah. You were missed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just a wild game. On the injury front, some stuff's difficult to sustain here. And again, the you better get right by the playoffs. You can live with it for now, because you've got Miami and the Jets, and Miami, and it doesn't matter as much.
Both got embarrassed today,
and they both got embarrassed, and they've packed it in for the season. So that's not bad, but they got to get right. That the offensive line situation did feel a lot like last year to me today.
I'm a Vidarian guy, like I praise him when he's playing well. There were way too many times where he barely got a hand on the guy he was blocking.
Exactly.
And a big reason, like you said, there were some pristine pockets. There was another game like this. Do you remember, Mike, where even Mike Vrabel was like, it was kind of one or the other. We either had it blocked up or we were getting sacked. It was literally like there was no in between. Yeah. That's what tonight felt like, where Drake was either almost getting sacked immediately and literally breaking tackles to survive, or he had 4 seconds to throw. Like, it was crazy.
Right. Really weird.
Scary, man. Like, you got to be – I don't know if he's dealing with an injury. He wasn't on the injury report. I don't know what it is, but this was a game from him that I did not expect. I know these are explosive edge rushers and Draymond Jones and Mike Green especially. Like, Mike Green, I mean, we were praising the guy all Senior Bowl for his explosiveness and his pass rush talent. But you need better than that, because you can't have Drake Maye having to get away. And also a big part of it is those edge guys have shorter arms. If you're talking about like Bills kinds of defenders, obviously different body types, but longer arms and defenders who could have gotten closer, I think that makes a difference a lot of the time. But you're lucky you have freaking Drake Maye back there going Super Saiyan and just, being impossible to bring down. So.
And that was going to be my point, Taylor, was like, yes, the offensive line needs to be better. And if they are better, it's just going to sort of obviously make Drake better, and he'll be able to have a cleaner pocket and make cleaner reads. But when you have a guy like that and have a guy that's doing what he did tonight, I obviously don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it's okay if you let up on a block or two, right? And especially when you think about it, like Will Campbell's out right now, so they have to rely on Bedard Lowe, a decent fringe sort of spot starter like we've talked about, and he has a night like tonight. But when you have Drake Maye on the other end, you're not reeling from it as much, and you can have a game or 2 or 3 or whatever until Will Campbell's back and be able to figure it out from there. And so that, like, what this just tells me is, okay, Lowe had a tough game. Maybe next week he bounces back, but either way, Drake's going to still be able to find a way to make some sort of play here and there, get them through it. And you saw it tonight, continuing to step up, running around, sometimes having a relatively clean pocket. And even when he doesn't, he's still able to make something out of nothing. So, you hope that Campbell can get healthy down here, down the stretch eventually, especially considering all the injuries they dealt with tonight. But it sounds kind of goofy, but I'm almost okay with the fact that it was hit or miss, because Drake was just able to kind of, again, John, like you said, put his superhero cape on even more and continue to make awesome plays.
Yeah, and again, it's early, and it's not the only thing to go on, but PFF grades for the game, which they roll as the game goes on. The 3 tackles had the 3 lowest scores in terms of pass blocking, and it's not surprising.
Also, Morgan Moses with the knee injury is pretty severe. Like we can't judge him too harshly when you're losing the edge more than usual. And you're dealing with a knee, probably something going on there.
Right. You can't, but yeah, it was low that this was the first game. I felt like, it was like Lowe's been doing just fine in Campbell's absence. This was the first one where it didn't feel good at all, in this regard. But again, back to the Drake Maye stuff. What do you think changed for him there? Just in terms of how the game flow went, and especially between that third and the fourth quarter, for him to kind of go into Superman mode there.
It really felt like he just settled in. And that's the thing with Drake. I feel like sometimes people want to, and I don't necessarily think this isn't the case, but sometimes people will say like it's the disguises or it's what the defense is doing. With Drake, it usually feels more like a him thing, where it's like, well, he's not being accurate, or like he's just forcing balls that he shouldn't. Like we were talking about with the turnover-worthy plays. No one made him take a hand off the ball. No one made him throw to a route that he needed to throw on time. Like over a second later, it really is just him, I think, feeling comfortable. And I always am very careful with the Brady comparisons, but Brady was like that too. Think of all the Super Bowls where he starts off ice cold, and then once he's kind of made his mistakes, and I think he's admitted that he would get kind of jitters early in the game and just get really ramped up. then he finally settles down. And that's, I think, the case with Drake. There may be more occasions like we saw last week where that doesn't happen, and he never really finds that groove because he just doesn't get a ton of opportunities. And also, kind of in hindsight, maybe why the Patriots were more pass-heavy last week than they were run, because they were like, we got to get Drake involved in this game somehow. But that's really what I thought it was, is that he wasn't making bad decisions and just taking advantage of the situation around him. Oh, I've got a huge pocket. Let me step up and wait for my guy to find space over the middle against zone. Or shit, I got immediate pressure. Let me dip under this and, not take a sack 0 yards past the line of scrimmage or, force a throw into tight coverage. For me, especially not having seen the film, but that really felt like the biggest thing, because the things that were disappointing me outside of some miscommunications for sure was just Drake kind of being not himself in terms of not being an MVP caliber quarterback, but really showing like this is a sophomore who is still learning and still has a lot of things to improve, which is so crazy when he does go on these streaks like this, where it's like, oh yeah,
he's 23
out the window. He's 23 years old. And again, just like completely goes like bonkers and stops making mistakes for entire quarters and just slices people apart. It's just need more consistency, but obviously for a guy in his position, I mean, it's incredible to watch.
That's what it is. And I don't necessarily know if it's even like and I wonder if he almost does kind of maybe get in his own head and overthink a little bit too much. And I don't want to say he's trying to do too much, because he's just trying to do what he knows he can do, right? And go make an extra play and go try and get out of the pocket and get 4 or 5 yards on the ground. Or, he's trying to, like the throw to Booty in the first half. He's just trying to make a play. And like sometimes you have to not do that, but he still has confidence in himself to do that, has confidence that Keyshawn's going to be in the right spot at the right time. Obviously, it doesn't work there, but like the Kyle Williams throw, for instance, that's just him being like, nope, I know what's going on. I understand the situation. Like you said, Marlon Humphrey's in coverage. I know my guy can beat that guy. He has him in stride and he puts it in the perfect spot. So it's almost like you have to take the good and the bad because of how good the good can be with Drake Maye, and understand that, okay.
But Josh has said that too. Josh McDaniels has said that. Like, you mean,
you don't think so, John?
No, it's not that. It's like, that's the analysis of Caleb Williams. That's not the analysis of Drake Maye, because Drake Maye does so many things right, and he is a very cerebral quarterback, and he's not sped up. But just sometimes,
that's fair.
Sometimes there might be just a little glitch out or lose focus for one play, or just make the bad choice in a very bad moment, and that they really hurt you when he does make those mistakes. Like, you look at Atlanta, like, not that, right, heading into halftime there. Like, it's like eliminate those and you have nothing to worry about, but you can't pitch a perfect game every time. I do think the standard is ridiculous. Can I
make one argument to the Caleb Williams thing? I'm sorry, really quick.
Yeah.
Only difference is with Caleb Williams, it felt like the difference of one play, kind of, right? Where especially going up against the Packers, where that last game, he throws the interception on a very kind of 50-50-ish throw that he probably shouldn't have made. Next time around, obviously that throw he made to DJ Moore today was like insane. One of the best throws I've ever seen in my life. But with Drake, it went from him having a cold kind of game to now this time it wasn't one play. He actually locked in for an entire quarter, which for me is kind of the difference there, where with Caleb, it's splashes. And for Drake, it's like these dominant stretches he has between those kind of young moments where it's like, dude, don't do that. Don't do that.
There's a few of those. Too, I'll say, like the 4th and 2 that he hit Diggs on that kept him on that final drive, the game-winning drive. You have to let him try and make those throws, though, because when it hits, it's 4th and 2, they convert and they go in the game. If it got picked off, we'd sit here and we'd be upset about it and say that he maybe shouldn't have made the throw, but he kind of did have to make the throw because he knows he can make it. He just squeezes it out by the defender. Him and Diggs are on the same page, and here we go, they're winning the football game. So I don't want him to stop trying to make those plays. It's just, put 2 hands on the football when you get strip sacked. Or the Keyshawn Booty one, it's kind of different. That's not really trying to make a play. That was almost like, I know this is supposed to go there, so I'm going to throw it, even though Booty wasn't in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, but like I said, I've always felt that the Drake Maye analysis. I think we have Tom Brady brain rot in terms of like seeking almost like just this level of perfection that even Tom Brady himself didn't achieve on a week in, week out basis. It's just that's how we remember it now. I think Maye has played, nearly flawless football for entire games this season. It's just you've seen a couple recently where the Buffalo thing leaves a taste in your mouth and you're like, oh, he's fallible. Since he wasn't a great game, Tampa wasn't a great game. So he's had a couple of like not great games by his standards. And this was trending towards one of those, well, he made great plays, but he also made mistakes sort of games until that fourth quarter where he completely flipped the script on it. And as we said, went into superhero mode and had his statistically dominant, game of his career with 380 yards. He hadn't eclipsed 300 yards yet. Went shooting past it. 380 today, two passing touchdowns. Obviously the interception and the fumble, there could have been big, ended up not, proving to be fatal here, but we'll continue on Drake Maye. We're also going to be joined by Greg Bedard a little bit later. We got to talk about some of the Patriots injuries as well and how they're going to bounce back from some of those. First off, we do want to tell you about our pals over at Prize Picks, and you know the deal here. The episode, and really all our episodes, brought to you by Prize Picks, our partners. The holiday season, best time of the year for sports, and this, bowl games, there's basketball games, football, professional football heading into the playoffs with the playoff push right now, and the Patriots just punched their ticket. It's all happening at once. And while you and I and Taylor are there making decisions every day, gifts to buy, what to eat, what games to watch, there's one place where it's really good to be right, and that, of course, is Prize Picks. And you know the deal right now. Number one daily fantasy sports app in North America. You see the code on the screen. You download that app, code CLNS. Play 5, get 50 in your lineups instantly. 2 to 6 player stat projections. Doesn't matter the sport. You can mix and match sports. You can stack projections on a particular player. So if you took Drake Maye and you wanted more on yards or more on touchdown passes, that would have been a good thing for you today because he probably hit them both. There's a lot of cool stuff on the site as well. Free squares. You can insert those into your lineups. Makes it that much easier to cash in. Injury reboots. Prize Picks, I know for a fact, rebooted everybody who had Lamar Jackson in the lineup. And the same thing with Trevion Henderson. They went out in the first half. They did not come out in the second. If you had them in your lineups, that gets taken off the board. You don't have to worry about that. So again, go with Prize Picks. If this is your thing and you like playing daily fantasy sports, there's no better place to do it. Once again, you see it on the screen. Download the app, code CLNS, 50 in your lineups when you play 5. Once again, download that app, code CLNS, play 5, get 50 in your lineups right away. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. And we're back now with Taylor and Mike. And guys, are we back? Where are we? Get this off the screen. Get it off the screen. This was grisly. I don't know how we're going to come out of this thing here. And again, it might not matter if these aren't long-term injuries. And so we don't know what happened here. But, DeMario goes out, not hamstring. That's never great because, those could be a multi-week sort of thing. We'll see how that goes. Booty there got banged up, might have been a head. Trevion Henderson got rocked, there. He smashed his head against the against the turf. He went out. That's a concussion. That's going to be next week for sure. And who knows beyond that, not great. But the bigger issues are anything like you said, Morgan Moses, not great. You lost 2 D tackles as well today, Farms, Tonga, and then you're still without Milton Williams. How much is too much here? And again, it is
too much already.
Bro, your interior shot.
The entire interior defensive line. You're talking about 2 receivers right now. Your best home run hitting weapon in the backfield. It's a ton, man. And this is a team that we knew depth was going to be an issue. Even their starters, they were even thin at some of their starting spots. They simply do not have the depth to be able to sustain this, and things could get a little bit goofy if they don't get some guys back.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start, man. Okay, so I guess wide receiver, if you're talking about not having Kayshawn or Demario Douglas, I mean, I guess that opens a door for Kyle Williams and Efton Chisholm to have bigger roles. Yeah. But I mean, for Kyle Williams, maybe that's exciting. We understand that might be a roller coaster, but we've seen the flashes. Okay, could he maybe step up for Kayshawn if he has to do that again? But Efton does not get many, if any, quality reps with Drake Maye. So The wide receiver one, I mean, you're going to have to make some combinations like Hunter Henry maybe playing more in the slot, things like that. You're going to have to start getting creative. And on the interior of the defensive line, give credit for Eric Gregory stepping up, but you're going up against the Jets next week. Like, that's another team where you can basically sell out to play the run the entire time, but it's a lot harder when you already have like Christian Barmore playing defensive end for you, right? You do not have the depth. So I don't really know. Maybe you make some elevations, some sidings. I really don't know what the answer is. I don't think there is an easy one.
So my quick answer and thought on it, like right now and kind of where they're at is, okay, you've got to 12-3. You've clinched the postseason. You have 2 relative cupcakes in front of you where you should still be able to win these games, even if your guys are hurt, right? So whether you end up with the bye week or not, you have 2 weeks to rest up. You hope you can get Will Campbell back by the first week of the playoffs. Wide receiver could be a struggle. You never know how long a hamstring injury can be with Pop, but perhaps he's back for the first round of the playoffs at worst. You wonder with Kayshon Boutte if it's a head injury or not. We'll have to wait and see where that goes. But Travion and I thought Travion was a lower leg injury at first. I thought that was going to end up being potentially season ending. And knock on wood, it's only, and I hate to say only a concussion or only a head injury, but something that you can get back from within 2 to 3 weeks if to get yourself back on track. So
like Gronk has said it himself, I'd rather you hit me high than hit me low.
Exactly right. Yeah. So
yeah, Gronk might regret
with
that in 20 years, but yeah, that's fine.
But for the here and now and what the Patriots want to do as a team, it's more helpful. So I feel like a lot of these, maybe they've still, I don't want to say lucked out, but you potentially miss a couple season enders here, and you can get ready in 2 to 3 weeks and be ready for the postseason now that you've actually got yourself back in the dance and you have more to play for than just these next 2 weeks. You should be able to survive the Jets and the Dolphins, even with the roster you have right now. And counting all the guys out tonight, if you count Tonga and Pop and Boutte and rest them all to the playoffs, you should still be able to beat these two teams next week.
Also, the interior of the defense, they actually do have a decent amount of bodies on the practice squad. I wanted to double check. They have Fabian Lovett, who is a veteran, at least if he had to play. Jeremiah Farms, who's been here since the summer, obviously. We all know him. And Leonard Taylor, who actually played last week. So they have warm bodies. I can say that. But, I mean, really, when is enough? When you keep getting these hits on the interior, in the spine of your defense.
Yeah.
Lucky they've got enough guys at linebacker to supplement and that their safeties have been able to stay healthy. But, I mean, like, this.
Yeah, a couple guys who delivered today. Mac Hollins, good to see him kind of step up again. Trusted target. Maye was able to find him on some important completions. He's a guy who goes up and gets it, and that was great. But Stefon Diggs, we haven't seen this in a long time from him. And you mentioned it, like prime time, right? It was his Bills. It was the Bills coming out party where he looked he looked more like old Stefon Diggs, just getting open, exploiting matchups, making tough contested catches, getting yak, all of that stuff. I think a lot of people started worrying that he had turned into a pumpkin. Like you got everything you could out of Diggs. He was a good soldier, veteran receiver, trusted target for Maye in some critical situations, third downs, whatnot. But like games like this where we were never going to see them again. Oh, where did this come from?
I will say,
and not only that, people started questioning, like, he looks slow, he looks old, he looked lost, he was running bad routes last week. Like everyone was. Yeah. So what happened?
I thought some of the stuff last week was overblown, to be honest. Like I've charted and seen a lot of the route concepts, and some of them, I think people thought he had options that I'm not really sure he had and didn't really give the full context of the plays. But anyway, one, I think the play calling helped. Like the fact he ran an outbreaker on 4th and 2 was significant because teams know that they like those short inbreakers, specifically to Diggs. And when Josh McDaniels is saying, teams are doubling him, that's the kind of thing he's talking about. So I thought it was a smart play call. But also, I think that Drake gave him opportunities. It's not like you're really talking about Stefon Diggs as, he's dropping everything that comes his way. He's maybe had some inopportune drops, but he also hasn't been targeted very much. I don't know. I know he had like the finger injury or whatever. I don't know if it's injury related or what, but also this is just an offense where they do spread the targets around. And when offenses are trying to take him away, it's forced Drake to have to go to guys like Matt Collins or his checkdowns and things like that. But really, I thought it was opportunity, and I thought it was Stefon Diggs making the most of those, getting the yards after the catch, making those tough catches. That's his game. That's why he's here. He doesn't necessarily have to be Kyle Williams and Kayshon Boutte beating guys vertically, but in that short to intermediate area of the field, you need to be our moneymaker in these big moments, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm okay if it doesn't happen in the 1 o'clock window, as long as in the 8 o'clock window you're showing up like this. I have no qualms.
And he's also, more often than not, seemed to be in the right place at the right time, right? Where these communication errors that we've seen from, Drake and Pop over the years and him and Henry this year, I haven't seen that much with Stefon Diggs, where, if Drake a few times tonight stepped up and Diggs is basically coming right into his line of vision and he knows he can dump it off right now, get 5, 6, 7 yards and a first down and potentially even more. And there was a clip going a little viral on social where it looked like Diggs was kind of getting in Drake's in Drake's hair a little bit and kind of saying like, no, we need to do this here right now. And Drake looked down and looked back at the tablet and everyone's like, oh no, it's the Stefon Diggs yelling at Josh Allen clip all over again. But
I didn't even see that.
I'll try and find it. If they lost, you probably would have seen it already. But it kind of did look like that. But from the Stefon Diggs and kind of the character we've seen of him this year, where he's running up and down the sideline. You guys saw it tonight on the broadcast, telling guys to get your chins up and getting his teammates rolling. Like, it seems like he is here and just in it to win it and doesn't necessarily, as we know, need the stats and need what have you. I think he was just trying to get back on the same page with Drake tonight. And clearly whatever he was saying must have worked, because you saw the fourth quarter that he and Drake had together to, get them over the hump and get the win.
One other thing I want to give him credit for that also was a big part of that Bills game that he had was getting open when things broke down and knowing how to do so quickly. There was one of those where Drake had to climb way up in the pocket and found him over the middle on, I think it was the 3rd and 15 or something like that. And then there was another one where I think he was going out and broke inside. Those kinds of things were also, I feel like, when plays have broken down, sometimes guys don't get open for Drake. That's one area where Stefon Diggs, when he's had his best games, it seems like those happen at least a couple times. And that seemed like it played a factor on at least 2 snaps today. So credit there as well, having the IQ to be able to get open for his quarterback, which I don't want to say other guys don't have the same instinct, but obviously with Stefon Diggs, the success he's had, he does it better than a lot of other people.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's you need it, right? Like, is it just tonight? Or is it like, Is he back? Like, I don't know. Like, the Patriots having a different leading receiver each week isn't necessarily surprising. And you could view it as a strength or a weakness. Like, it's like, all right, well, I'll just throw to the open guy, and that guy's going to have the big game. And that's very old Patriots-like, and it's very Brady-like. But sometimes it just comes down to just having guys who just win individual matchups, and Stefon Diggs was winning them tonight, and you need a little bit more of that from this team. Last week, I know everyone was really, really, really down on the defense for the 5 straight touchdowns, and I was looking at the offense as a bigger overall problem. I mean, I understand that, I think the defense has fixes that could be coming from within with just getting bodies back. The offense, to me, if this season ends prematurely, I feel like it's going to be because the offense falters, not because the defense fails them. So that's my viewpoint. What do you guys think here heading in? Because there's imperfections all over. This is a great win. People will question it again. Well, you did it without Lamar Jackson. You beat a backup. Hooray. Doesn't matter. It was a big boy win. Tough place to play. Things weren't going their way and they got it. But you're still going to walk away from this kind of like, ugh, there's some things here I didn't like. What gives you guys the biggest level of concern? Not the next 2 weeks, but as you're heading into the playoffs, factoring in that you're going to get some help back as well that will plug some of these holes.
For me, it really is the defense, because offensively, there's still things that I need to see. And again, I really do think Stefon Diggs was quiet, because I'm telling you, there were certain types of coverages that they have been seeing for the past 3 or so weeks before this Ravens game that they were either seeing very little of or none of before that, like cover 1 bracket or cover 1 double. Brackets, very specific types of man coverage where like half the field is taken away Kayshon Boutte and 2 guys are in the middle. So I do just want to emphasize that part of the Stefon Diggs being so quiet was scheme. And what I want to see going forward is more of what Matt Collins showed tonight, where it was still inconsistent, but show me, okay, when the defense is saying we're going to force you to throw to Matt Collins, you can take advantage. And then Drake May just being more consistent are really the things that scare me, because the run game looks like it might actually be a benefit for you. It's still kind of boom or bust, but there was a huge stretch of the season where you didn't know if you could rely on it at all, especially without Travion Henderson. So really, I'm not terribly worried about the offense. It's really, even if Milton Williams comes back, even if Robert Spillane comes back, how healthy are they going to be? Is the run defense going to be that much better? Because people keep saying that Milton Williams is when the run defense got bad. The run defense started looking bad against the Falcons when you had all these massive gaps and the defensive backs were plugging them quickly. So you couldn't really tell that they weren't looking the way that they had when they were just dominant through the first 8 weeks or so of the season. That's what scares me, is that against a team that wants to run the ball and isn't going to give you a break by taking out their best player in the fourth quarter, I just don't know how they stop it. They had their stuffs, and I give them credit for that. They had people step up, but I just don't know if that's something that's going to continue throughout the playoffs, or unless they just go against one really dominant team in particular. And I got to see the pass coverage, honestly, but even that was kind of up and down. I will give Christian Gonzalez credit.
Great play. That was the best play he's made all year.
Yes, like that kind of playing off coverage where, all right, you're reading it and you know what's coming and you close. It's like, yes, guys,
Yeah,
so
right.
that's it. If you want to make a big bust, that's what I need to see from you, like once or twice a game. And also some
in a critical moment where it was tonight too.
Exactly. And some of the tackles they did run at him and they had success. I never think he should be that player. He did his best, I think. But I thought he was solid as a run defender. But yeah, my opinion on the coverage is kind of still TBD, because I thought they were competitive, but definitely felt like there were some openings as well.
What's funny is I thought that Gonzo play, two things on that one. I thought that might have been a game-changing potential play to get Baltimore off the field and get the ball back three and out. It ended up not being, because they did get a first down later there where Huntley threw a little hitch to Hopkins to move the chains there and tick off a couple more minutes off the clock. And again, at that point, the Ravens had gone 7 for 10 on third down. So that didn't bode well. But again, they got to him. They blitzed him on third down. They got off the field. You got that little false start, penalty on the punt where they tried to draw him off. They got the ball back, and they drove 89 yards for the win. But the Gonzo thing was interesting to me, guys, because it looked like a choice. It looked like I'd been playing passive all game, and I don't feel I'm playing great, and I'm gonna lock it in here. And he just went for that ball with such purpose. It looked totally different than every other movement. Like, yeah, he got beat a couple times by Flowers, but a couple, he looked like he'd conceded it before the ball was even thrown. He just gave him the sideline, and he gave him the completion, and he gave him the first down on a couple of them. He just didn't look like he was even competitive, like he was willing to live with some of it. Like, I don't care, I'll let him have this one, I'm not selling out for it. It was a weird, and then on the Henry run, I know no D-back loves it, like seeing some, guards pulling and coming over there and smashing him in the face. But he didn't even put up a fight trying to shed that block to try to get himself at Henry.
There was another one though. He was in the open field with Henry, and he brought.
He
him
made
down
a great open heel tackle. He did. He had no choice.
Stefon Gilmore was like, if I really need to do it, I'll do it.
Exactly.
He's like, I can't hide here because it's just me and him in the open field. And he did, and he wrapped him and he brought him down.
Right.
But it looked like he didn't really want a lot of what this game was dealing him for a lot of the game. Am I wrong there? Like, is something seemed off?
I hate questioning a player's effort, but it does feel like he gets bored sometimes. And that's like what corners do, if we're being very honest.
We've seen that from him in training camp too, though, Taylor. Every summer, it's just like, oh, he'll be fine. We know that he can just do this, and he's in training camp, and he's going through the motions. And when push comes to shove, if you need him, he's going to go make a play. So,
which I do think I don't think that's irrelevant. I think it's something we're going to talk about more this offseason. Yeah. But I think today, the fact that he did show like he can tackle Derrick Henry, something that I think a lot of people probably would say that he wouldn't win that matchup. And he did finally make that kind of play where you read and you make the crucial pass breakup. Like you said, John, it didn't count, but I'm giving him a pass for this game so far. We'll see what the tape says, because if he got beaten more often, then, I'll have something to say. But at least we saw the glimpses of what he can be in this system. But yes, I agree that sometimes it does seem like he just gets bored and doesn't really go 100%.
Totally.
Yeah, it was a weird one. And then, it's hard to not talk about the last play of the game there from, Chase on there with the punch out fumble. Nice to see the defense make a big play. One of the big things last week was they couldn't get off the friggin' field. They couldn't force a turnover. They couldn't make a play. They made the play today where they had to. So overall thoughts on the defense. Again, they got gashed in the run game. And you're facing a backup quarterback on not a high volume passing offense. So you didn't necessarily think you're going to get beat up too badly there. At the end of the day, it doesn't look awful. You gave up 24 points. It's not the end of the world. That's a manageable total in today's NFL to be able to win a game. How did you think they performed overall?
I do want to give them credit for not giving up any explosive passes. They got close, but there were no completions of 20 yards or more. That doesn't just happen in the NFL. And Lamar Jackson wasn't there for a good amount of time. So got to tip your cap there to a degree. But it really
I do hate, though, saying, like, it's hard to cut you off. I'll let you keep going. There's completions of 19 yards, 18 yards, and 18 yards. So, like, they're basically – I know.
For a reason. It's a threshold.
I totally get it. I get it. But there was some plays they should have and could have had back for sure.
And to your credit, some people say 15 yards is an explosive. And in that case, they gave up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, right.
So, just barely. But at least there were no, like, crazy, field flipping plays.
60-yard bomb or a big touchdown or what have you. Right, totally.
Right. And considering, like, Zay definitely had his moments, it felt like at some point there was probably going to be a bigger completion that didn't happen. But what really sticks in my craw is that they were getting beaten by the same concept over and over. The Zay Flowers end around, I'm not even going to lie, I was disappointed. But when you look at it, it's like Dell was in a tough spot because he's trying to blitz, comes off that, and then gets blown up while he's still kind of, trying to recover. It happens. And then Jack Gibbons, like, first took a step this way, then chased down Zay Flowers, then Zay cut it back. And at that point, it was kind of game over. And that's what we've seen from Jack Gibbons. Like, he's a little tough for him to redirect. So the Zay Flowers touchdown, it was very disappointing. But that one, I'm like, I kind of get it. It's one of those gimmicky plays, whatever. But you were getting gashed by pin pull consistently, and we talked about it coming into the game. We knew it was coming, you knew it was coming, and you couldn't stop it. That's the kind of shit that really scares me. But they're not getting gashed, as a pass defense, although, again, the opponents matter, and it feels like that's kind of still a fluky improvement that they made as a pass defense. But you did enough, and you forced the turnovers. That's the thing. You don't even really have to be that good in defense. As long as you're not getting blown out and you're able to get timely turnovers, they did that. So I'll be more critical tomorrow, but I do want to give them a whole lot of credit for forcing those two. And I even think on Christian Ellis's face mask, Chris Collinsworth said that it was like Zay's elusive. I thought he was trying to strip the ball and then kind of got maybe his fingers caught. I don't know, but they were going after the ball. They made it happen. Yeah. I thought that was awesome.
They did. Patriots end up with the come-from-behind win, down 2 scores in the fourth quarter. Drake Maye goes into hero mode, defeating the Baltimore Ravens 28-24, improving to 12-3 on the season, and clinching their first playoff berth in what feels like 11 years, but I don't think it was that long. But it's been a while. It's been nice. It's nice to get back. We will thank Mike Kadlick. We will thank Taylor Kyles as we're going to say goodbye, and we're going to bring on Greg Bedard in just a minute. So, guys, peace out. And everyone at home, don't go anywhere. We've got more post-game show to come here. And Taylor, thank you, bud. But first off, we're going to give you a little word from our sponsor over at Omaha Steaks. And by now, we've been banging this drum for a while, but the offer continues. So why not take advantage of it here? Gift giving time, and there is still time if you want to get in on this Omaha Steaks deal that we're offering here. omahasteaks.com. You go there now. There's a lot of discounted items for gift boxes that you could send, and these do make terrific gifts, and you can still rush them out and get them to people before Christmas if you act now. And our listeners, in addition to a lot of this stuff being heavily discounted, get an extra $35 off with the code Patriots at checkout. I personally have ordered 3 food boxes already. One as a present. One was just a box of steaks I cooked up myself in a holiday roast, which I'm going to be making for Christmas. It's terrific. It's the choice of chefs and restaurateurs around the world, certified tender steaks, juicy steaks that maximize tenderness, hand cut by master butchers in America's heartland, grass-fed, grain-finished beef, more marbling, exceptional flavor. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917, a family-owned company for over 100 years. So again, save big on gourmet gifts and more. holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com. And for an extra $35 off, and as I said, there's a lot of discounts on the site already, but an extra $35 off when you use the code Patriots at checkout. Terms do apply. See the site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code Patriots. We're going to bring in Greg Bedard right now, fresh out of the Patriots locker room. Are we going to bring him on? There he is. What's up, Greg?
Hello.
You just came out of the Patriots locker room. What's the rumpus? What's the buzz after tonight's big win? Come from behind win.
I would say that the guys are confident. I think a big talking point and something, I was asking about is, I don't know if tonight happens without what happened last week, in a variety of different ways with, the defense couldn't get off the field, 5 straight touchdown drives, and Vrabel talked about that they needed to cause some turnovers, and that's what they did tonight in big spots. They worked on punching the ball out a ton this week, more than they normally do. It was a big point of emphasis with Caleb on Chason called. He said the term was they have a bunch of speed skaters on their team, which is I guess the way that they move and the arms sort of off the body. And we saw that with the punch out with Hawkins and also Caleb on Chason, which was huge. And then also Drake Maye. I sort of wrote about this on Sunday morning that there was a lot of criticism last week about Josh McDaniels and not running the ball and blah, blah, and some of it was true. But I did sort of wonder, at some point, did Vrabel and McDaniels sort of say, like, we're not going to be in too many of these spots before the playoffs, between the game last week and the one tonight. Like, let's put Drake in some uncomfortable positions to see, how he comes out. And he didn't come out last week. And this week he was outstanding. I was just looking in the fourth quarter, he was 12 of 14. 86%, 139 yards, 9.9 yards per attempt. It was just terrific. It was almost the complete opposite of last week. And, and as the team, a lot of these guys haven't been in this position, and they needed to learn from defeat, and they needed to learn how to win. And I would say mission accomplished.
And so it's easy to say, Greg, after what happened in the fourth quarter, but through 3 quarters, did you feel that way? Because again, there was the thought of maybe you needed a loss, maybe you needed some perspective on how challenging things would be and how to deal with adversity. And it didn't look like they were doing it too well through 3 quarters there. If this didn't flip as it did in the fourth quarter, we'd be having a different conversation right now altogether.
No, and without question. And look, the Ravens were complicit in this as well. I'll be interested to hear John Harbaugh's post-game press conference and sort of how he was questioned, because this is a team that repeatedly over the last couple of seasons have blown leads like this. And they're a bad home team. I mean, up 11 with, I don't know even how much time left, and they had the ball, and Derrick Henry's not on the field. Like, what are we doing when he was just, I think at one point he had like 17 carries for,
7 yards a carry,
7 yards. Yeah.
He's just 7 yards a carry. He's destroying them. So I have a quote. I don't have the clip, but I have the quote. He was asked about it, and Harbaugh said he was coming back in the game. Keaton started the other drive, and when Derrick came in and finished it off, so it was part of the rotation. He was going back, then we got stopped, and then he got pressed on it. He's like, well, looking back, would I rather have had Derrick start the drive? Yeah, but Derrick was kind of ready for Keaton to start the drive, and then he was planning on coming in next, so we were working that rotation. You look back on it, I think it's easy to say he should have been in there or shouldn't have been in there, but we're rotating those guys throughout the game as the 2 backs. But yeah, game-winning drive. Do I want Derrick Henry on the field? Sure, I do want him on the field. Right, so put him on the friggin' field. This is like mildly throwing an OC under the bus, I feel like, which is like, I don't know why he wasn't out there, but
yeah. So he was out there. He gave them the 11-point lead. The Patriots come back and score of the great pass and catch by Kyle Williams.
Old man, I see the papers.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, Dad, can you put the papers down?
Yeah, and then it was that next drive. The Ravens were up 3 with 9 minutes to play, and Derrick Henry didn't touch the ball once on that next drive. And of course, Tyler Huntley is out there, no Lamar Jackson. So that certainly helps. For a while, I thought that Tyler Huntley was going to beat the Patriots for the second straight season. He did it with the Dolphins last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, I thought it felt, I will say this game didn't have a lot of buzz around it here in the stadium. You couldn't really feel it till the fourth quarter. And it just felt like, for a while, it just felt like two middling teams who aren't really going anywhere. And then suddenly Drake Maye puts on his Superman cape and rescues the team. They get a few timely plays, from the defense, and they get, it wasn't an improbable victory, but it wasn't looking good there for a while. And so I think it says a lot about the team to, do what they did. They lost a lot of guys to injury in this game, had to battle through, and to come out with a win and clinch a playoff berth. Pretty good stuff. And 7-0 on the road. I mean, this team, to be able to do that and be road warriors, it makes you think that they're capable of things in the postseason, where if that fourth quarter doesn't happen, I don't think anybody in New England, we even had the fake punt disaster. We didn't even get a chance to ask Mike Vrabel about that. And I think if it just continued on and they lost this game, I think a lot of people would be like, hey, it was a good run. They gave us a lot. No shame in that, probably headed for an early exit. And now suddenly the quarterback's going to have more confidence. The team's going to have more confidence. And you're back to saying, hey, they could go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. That was every one of my text threads with my friends tonight. Well, they had a good run. Didn't expect it. Mm-hmm. We cashed it all in. So a lot of the narratives around Drake Maye were like, okay, the stats look good, the completion percentage, this and that, but he doesn't have a signature win. So it doesn't have a comeback, or he's not leading them. You see, Caleb Williams plays 3 crap quarters, but he's got 6 comeback wins under his belt this year. Drake Maye hasn't had one of these, which is like, all right, get on my back, boys. I'm taking us from 2 scores down, and we're just going to win the game. And he did. How important is that for him? Or for them? Because again, we can look at a million different things that factored into it. You said, Baltimore being complicit in it, good plays made by other people, some timely defensive plays as well, being able to get the Ravens off the field, the fumble at the end of the game. But this really was just Drake Maye going Superman mode, and carrying the team to victory. How big is that for him, or how big is that for them, knowing that, like, oh, maybe we can do that, and we could just, because you see it on the other side. You see Josh Allen go into Josh Allen mode and just win a game for you. How important was that to see Drake Maye do it?
Oh, I think it's immense. I think it's immense for him and the team. And look, they certainly have a lot of confidence in Drake Maye, and they know how talented he is. And you hear all the things that they say about him, but there's another level that you can go to, and that's the type of quarterback where your teammates are like, well, we're in every single game because we have number 10 and he can bring us back. And, I'm sure guys would say that to the media before tonight, but there's no reason for them to really believe in that, because it hasn't happened. And I'm not saying it's Drake's fault that it hasn't happened. A lot of their wins have been, get the lead at halftime and finish off the game. And that's great and all, but to have the belief that, say they're in Denver in the playoffs and they're down 10 in the fourth quarter. Well, now you have a memory that tells you he can do it against a good team, a talented team, at least, on the road. So he's capable of anything. And I think the big thing was that, it's just, this kid's amazing in that how he learns every single week. And I had a good feeling that he was going to learn from last week and apply it this week. He does it every single week. And he did it again. He, couldn't come through last week. A lot of it was on him. But they did come through this week, and a lot of it was on him.
Yeah. And this is their second Sunday night game. And I remember in the first one, it was obviously against the Bills, and Collinsworth kept making commentary about how one thing I don't love about Maye is how, he when the rush comes, he's no longer looking downfield. He puts his head down and he's trying to figure out how to get away. And then it felt like Maye corrected that like in the second half of that game, and it's been a thing that he just doesn't nearly do as much. And Collinsworth pointed out again in the broadcast tonight that like, look at his eyes are downfield. Like, how many times did Maye, because of the injuries or spotty play from the tackle position, have to climb the pocket or have to elude a rusher that was in his face almost instantly? It felt like almost the entire second half there was a free rusher coming from somewhere because somebody completely whiffed on a block, and he was constantly moving up in the pocket and throwing on the move, and doing these, you know, ridiculous Drake Maye level things. Is how much of it's just going to be on him going forward, especially if they don't get bodies back, to just kind of like, you're just going to have to be Josh Allen. You're going to have to just be a hero here because we're not going to be able to support you in the way that we would like to.
Yeah. And, you know, unfortunately, that's the way it's going to have to be. And, you know, that's not even saying something about like that, you know, the Henderson injury. And it's more like, you know, they just can't run the ball at all. And, you know, the Ravens are a good defense. They've been playing really well for the last month, but, you know, at some point, I mean, they don't even run the ball well against teams that are bad against the run. Right. And it's like, how many times are you going to beat your head up against the wall? And so I think, you know, a lot of it's going to be on. They're just not that talented. And, you know, the injuries have finally hit. They could have hit in the early part of the season. They hit late in the season. And, you know, a team with no depth now is really thin, and that puts even more on Drake Maye. But I thought, you know, he did admit like there were some plays, like some of the sacks, the strip sack fumble, like, you know, those are mistakes that were on him. And for him to battle back, for him to get the snot knocked out of him in the second half, and I don't even think it was that many blown blocks. I think a lot of it was just the Ravens couldn't get any pressure in the first half, so they brought more blitzes. And if you bring one more than you're blocking, then it's on the quarterback. And he hung in there. He delivered the ball, getting hit. You know, he was tremendous down the stretch and just showed unbelievable toughness.
What got into Diggs tonight? I didn't know if we'd see another game like this from him. And last week you were critical of him. A lot of people were critical of him. And he was like, I mean, very, very reminiscent to the last Sunday night game, Stefon Diggs versus the Buffalo Bills, just in the way that he looked. But he looked like a completely different dude than the guy from the last 3-4 weeks. What happened?
Yeah, I didn't think that we were going to see another week 5 Diggs again. And, you know, credit to him. I was wrong. He did it tonight. You know, probably a couple things. He probably heard some of the chatter. And again, I didn't say that Diggs is done in December. What I said was Bills fans pointed out after the game that this is a thing. And then you look at his stats historically, they go down in December. All his stats are down in December. And that's true. And so maybe he heard some of the chatter, but he also played like crap last week. And, you know, there were routes where he's turning the wrong way when Drake was looking for him in crucial situations. And I'm sure they got after him. They made the corrections. So, you know, you combine, you know, and he probably saw it. He got the grade sheet from the coaches and went through it. And he was like, you know, I wasn't good enough. And he came back, looked like he was determined to avenge that. And also maybe he heard some of the chatter about, hey, he doesn't do anything in December. And he went out to answer people, and he did. He played great again.
Another guy who we haven't seen the best of recently, and didn't see a lot of good stuff early in the game tonight, was Christian Gonzalez. He did rebound, made a couple big plays late. That pass breakup on Rashad Bateman, in the fourth quarter, a nice open field tackle on Derrick Henry, but on the whole, not great. And just your kind of thoughts on Gonzo's performance. It's I mentioned it with Taylor and Mike. At certain points, he looked almost disinterested. Does he look off to you?
You know, a little bit. I mean, I do think a lot of it is the scheme that they run, and I don't think it's conducive to what he does. And, you know, I do think that, you know, the zone or playing off coverage it can lead to, a loss of focus. And I think he's at his best when they just say, you're taking that guy and take him all over the place. And I think he engages in that. I did find it interesting. Mike Vrabel had some sort of comment about Gonzalez where he basically, I don't know exactly what he said, but basically he said like, all of a sudden, like Christian sort of flipped a switch or brought a different attitude or something along those lines. And, you could see it on the field, but, then again, a Zay Flowers is also a bad matchup for him because, Zay's short and shifty and Gonzo is, longer and more of a thoroughbred. So, but I think a lot of his struggles have to do, it reminds me of when Stefon Gilmore first got here. And, remember that horrendous Carolina Panthers game that he had, and he was getting spun like a top. Not too long after, Belichick just said, screw this, and they started playing more man coverage. And then Stefon Gilmore goes on to be Defensive Player of the Year. So, but I don't know if Vrabel and his people are that adaptable. Certainly not this year. I don't know if they will be long term, as Belichick is, but it's definitely something to watch.
You mentioned injuries. Where do they need? And again, we don't know right now what's up with Demario Douglas, hamstring. That could be a multi-week thing. It could be something minor. Booty, I feel like that was a head injury, but I'm not entirely sure. On the should have been a pass interference, but wasn't play there where he left the field. You've got, obviously, Milton Williams is out. You lose Tonga and Farms tonight. Moses gets banged up on the offensive line. Where do they need help back, like the most right now?
Well, I mean, they'll get Milton,
and then obviously Henderson's not great too. But again, we'll see what's going on there. But yeah.
I mean, the good thing is I don't think a lot of the injuries to major players looked all that serious. I mean, look, you don't want Travion Henderson getting a head injury. Was that what Booty had as well?
I thought so. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, and those are going to run their course when they do. No rushing the timetable. I would say the injury that I'm most concerned about is like Tonga. Not having Tonga at full strength. This is now, he got injured. I think he got injured and then came back last week. He did not play well. Plays this week. I think he was sort of questionable for this game as well. And, Joshua Farmer went down. So now defensive tackle is like really thin. Now you are getting Milton Williams back. So that's really good. But, by the postseason, you want these guys to come back, especially in the middle. You get Spillane back at some point in time. I'm more worried about the middle of this defense in the postseason and getting healthier.
Okay. And before we wrap it, how has going from last week to this week, how's the perspective on the team changed as far as prospects go heading into the postseason? Again, nobody is rushing to the forefront here in the AFC and saying it's mine. Like, you've got to go through me. You just saw Denver get manhandled pretty much by Jacksonville, who all of a sudden is good, I guess. And I don't know if they're to be taken fully seriously either. Buffalo, who, came in and beat you last week, goes out there and has a slap fight and barely sneaks by Cleveland today. I don't know. I don't know what to think of the AFC playoff picture anymore. I don't think I've ever known, but I think I know less today than ever.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Buffalo playing with their food after beating the Patriots was like the least surprising thing,
right?
Ever. They love the smell of their own farts when they get a big victory and they think they've solved everything and they're Super Bowl champs. So that wasn't surprising. I look, you have to respect the Jaguars. I mean, what they're doing to go into Denver and beat that team like they did, that's impressive. I mean, I don't know how you can say the Patriots are for real, but the Jaguars aren't. I mean, I just don't. I'm sure a lot of people like Drake May more than Trevor Lawrence. You do have to account for, Trevor Lawrence of the past is different with Liam Cohen. But I think the AFC is entirely wide open. It's going to come down to injuries, who's healthy, when, and, can you execute? consistently. And I feel good about where the Patriots are. I didn't look at them any like worse for the wear last week. It was disappointing, but how many times are they going to give up 5 straight touchdown drives and not force a field goal? And how many times is Drake Maye? I know Drake Maye is going to get better. If he struggles, he's going to see it on film. He's going to make corrections and come back better. I certainly feel better about the Patriots now in the playoffs because, I've seen them do something really impressive, on the road. So I'm back into I don't know if I ever left, but I'm back into we shouldn't have talked like towards the end of the third quarter. I might have had different thoughts then about, are they possibly a pretender or what? But now after what they did in the fourth quarter, I'm definitely fully in on they're capable of anything. They have as good a chance as anybody in the AFC to represent the conference in the Super Bowl.
And Houston was another one who, again, that was a team that was coming on strong, and they're struggling with the Raiders as well. So again, it really is. It's as wide open as it can possibly get. Patriots essentially have 2 bye weeks now, taking on the Jets and the Dolphins, who have completely unraveled here down the stretch. So maybe that's a good time to get healthy. And the 1 seed is still in play. It's still in play with that Denver loss today. So we'll see. That could give them even a little bit more time to get healthy. If you don't know, Greg Bedard also has his own podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles. Make sure you subscribe to that, and you'll have a couple of good episodes this week when Greg dives into the film, usually on Tuesday. So make sure you check that out. Subscribe to that podcast, rate, review, like it, tell us what you think. On top of that, you should also subscribe to the Boston Sports Journal, where you can read all of Greg's written work. That is $50 a year or $7 a month. Best Boston sports coverage in town. Go subscribe today. Last shout out to our sponsors, Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Download the app, code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, the Patriots win 12-3 on the season, come from behind win over the Baltimore Ravens. They improve to 12-3 and clinch a playoff berth. They've still not clinched the AFC East. They still have work to do there. Could happen next week. Might go all the way to the final week of the season. And again, that #1 seed, as we said, is still in play. Thank you guys for hanging out late night and watching with us. As we said, make sure you check out Boston Sports Journal and read everything Greg has to say about this game. We will see you guys next week. Take care.